Salutations, listeners.
Si valis veleo.
Baller Magoolis.
Nanu?
Yeah.
That was interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't say Si valis veleo.
I mean, would you say nanu, or would you not say nanu?
I would say nanu. In fact, most of the time I do say nanu.
You do.
Yeah.
I kind of fucked that up, but I think we're going to leave this in.
Yeah.
This was kind of like an interesting little...
Yeah. We'll do it live.
Fuck it. We'll do it live. Fuck it.
God damn it.
I hope that nobody's listening to this prior to seeing the explicit content warning.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in. This is 3 Men in a Basement, and we are the Ultra Crepidarians. My name is Colin McLeod.
Mark Albier.
Action Jackson.
Xmas Jackson Waxon?
Nope. Different guy.
Different guy.
That's my alter ego.
Yeah, he doesn't have that memory. In this podcast, we review movies and deliver to you, the listener, an average schmuck's opinion about hidden gems in the wide world of cinema. In this show, we try and target movies that are not total blockbuster smashes. We also try to target ones that are not so obscure that you couldn't get your hands on a copy even if you wanted to. Instead, we aim for that delightful sweet spot of movies right in the middle. Ones that, in our experience, too few people have seen, maybe people have heard of, but haven't taken the step to go and track this thing down, hunt it down, trank it, and then saw off the proverbial rhinoceros horn that is this movie and consume it in ritualistic fashion.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
It's weird that that's where your head went.
That was dark
I don't approve of poaching, but there are movies out there that you got to hunt it down, you got to trank it, and you got to saw off its horn.
Just leave that carcass laying there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Take only what you want.
Okay, tell me you've not seen a movie that you have to trank and saw off its horn.
That I have or that I have not?
Not on the internet. This is not
okay. Well, that does narrow it down.
Yeah.
I like taking trophies from my favorite movies.
Like thumbs or fingers?
Or antlers, hooves.
Toes.
The occasional belly button.
Morton's.
Oh, take those Morton toes. Right.
Thanks, Tyson.
He's coming for us. Goddamn, he's coming for us. Yeah, so we watch these movies, and then we deliver to you our opinion about whether or not you need to track it down, trank it, saw off its horn, and consume it.
Or not.
Or not. Yeah, so what the fuck did we watch this week?
We watched a relatively darker feature, maybe even a dark city.
Title drop! Title drop!
We watched Dark City.
We did.
I got some thoughts. Maybe we can talk about it. Okay,
so should we start with cherries?
Yes.
I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna shorten that fucking the audio before that so much. But we can do it through the magic of editing.
Yes.
Okay, so I've seen this movie twice, which is actually a little ironic because the content of this movie, or should I say, I've seen this movie twice, and I am always amazed at how little I remember about this movie, which, based on the content of this movie, is a little coincidental. You'll get that perhaps in the IMDb description. I haven't read it yet. Or in the spoilers section of this, but
that's after the Buenpues, right?
That's slightly after the Buenpues. There's a connection between memory loss and this movie, and it's amazing that I just can never remember what the fuck this movie is about or elements of it.
Yeah.
Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch.
I've seen this movie once in its entirety, and then I don't know, maybe collectively once more over a long period of time, just kind of bits and pieces. I definitely enjoy this movie, and it certainly merits a rewatch. There are things about this movie that will make more sense as you watch it a second time and maybe even a third time. What about you, Mr. Waxon Flaxon?
I've seen this movie a total of once, and it was tonight because I popped my cherry. Yeah, so I had never even heard of this movie before tonight, and honestly, those are some of my favorites. It's mystery grab bag, what's on the menu tonight?
I do love that. I love it when, we sort of curated the list of movies for this podcast, and I do love that when somebody's like, all right, we should give this another rewatch, and you're flying blind.
Oh,
Not you specifically, but I love it when I'm flying blind.
Well, and I think that is a part of it too, though, is because I joined this podcast a little bit late, so I was not there for the curation of the master list. Mm-hmm. So there are quite a few that I'm very unfamiliar with. One might even say totally unfamiliar with.
Kind of the opposite of me in some respects, because like these movies are coming out of my collection, so
right.
we talked about this in the past, but I'm like biased towards having seen most of them, not all of them. There are a few, like I had never seen Jacob the Liar. It was in my collection, but I hadn't seen it, that kind of stuff. But I am definitely, unfortunately or fortunately in some ways, kind of biased towards having seen most of these. But Dark City, 1998 film, rated R. Yeah, kinda.
I think I would consider this a softer R.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
It definitely has the ingredients of an R movie, so I get it, but
it's rated R for a very specific reason, and that reason makes the rating valid.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this movie could easily be edited for TV, in a way that really wouldn't cut anything out.
Jackson, to your point, the thing that gives this movie its R rating is in fact two things, and half of the world has two of these things, and that is I think truly what sort of drives the rating.
Yeah,
he's talking about a boob.
I'm talking about
a pair of boobs.
We've established that they travel in pairs.
Yes, packs.
Packs.
Now
that's how they hunt.
This movie in particular is interesting in that they didn't travel in packs for all of the appearances of said boobs.
That's true.
There were a total of 3 boobs.
There was a lone hunter.
Yep.
A lone hunter, if you will.
A lone wolf.
It was dark.
Yeah, but we have no proof that there wasn't, a comrade boob.
But we also have no proof that there was.
Boob in accompaniment.
Yeah, it could have just been, waiting in the bushes. Like, I see, you got my friend over there. You're looking at him.
Oh, like fucking Jurassic Park style, right?
Yeah.
Like you're stalking the boob, and you see it, and then out of the bushes, the other boob comes from, blindside you, and you're like, clever girl! And then the boob just eats you.
Comes out.
It's like mice.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you see one, you know there's more.
Okay.
That's true.
It's right. Okay, gotcha.
Sometimes not true.
Prove it.
Got nothing.
Oh, I thought that was his proof, and I was like, fascinated.
I was riveted.
I'm dialed in right now.
Right.
Okay, so Dark City, IMDb has this as fantasy, mystery, sci-fi, thriller. Thoughts?
Yeah.
Yes. I would lean stronger on the sci-fi, less on the fantasy.
See, it's funny that you say that. This is one of the few movies I would actually truly call a sci-fi fantasy. I feel like there are a lot of movies that they're like, it's sci-fi fantasy. It's like, no, it's sci-fi. Mm-hmm. Or it's sci-fi fantasy. It's like, no, it's fantasy. This is one of the few that I think, in my opinion, is like pretty 50-50.
I mean, so while we were watching this, all I could think of was this seems like something that came out of H.P. Lovecraft's Twisted Brain.
It's very Lovecraft. It's also very Geiger.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's got a lot of that aesthetic. Okay, so there's nothing that's missing or improper in the genres.
I wouldn't say so. No.
Yeah.
Mark, you felt like it was a little light on the fantasy, heavier on the sci-fi?
Right. And maybe that's more just in the aesthetic of the movie.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'll give you that. Yeah.
But
for sure.
I think as we tease this apart after spoilers, I think I've got an idea why you're resonating with the fantasy.
Okay.
I will say, to Mark's point, it definitely leans heavier on the sci-fi than it does the fantasy, but fantasy is definitely an aspect that I wouldn't be willing to let go of.
So I would give it 50-50. It sounds like you guys would give it maybe 70-30 or 80-20. Is that...
Yeah, I might say 70-30, but at the same time, again, once we're past the whaz, I'll bring it up again, because I've got a feeling I know why perhaps you're leaning fantasy.
Fair enough.
Or at least you're weighting it higher than I am.
Hour and 40 minutes.
Honestly, and this is not an indictment of the quality of the movie, it felt longer.
I totally agree. I think this movie's pacing was... It may not have been off in its time. It may not have been off when it came out, but I think this movie dragged quite a bit. I honestly think this movie probably could have been an hour and 10.
Yeah.
an hour and 15 maybe, but
the actual content.
There's a lot of fat to trim in this movie.
Yeah.
I think it was intentional though. And again,
I do, and I think that intentionality, right? Like, maybe in the time and place it came out, maybe in 1998, watching this in the theater, it didn't feel like it dragged. But as somebody who's been dealing with, like, a device in my pocket that holds the entirety of the world's knowledge and plugged into social media, my animal brain that says, do something was going like,
well, and
fucking, like, get to the point, guys.
Stop marinating.
And you watch movies like Lord of the Rings that are 3 hours, and you're riveted the entire time. You watch movies like Harry Potter, and you just can't put it down. Mm-hmm. But then there's other movies like Serendipity, where you're like, oh my god, just get to it.
we got to get to spoilers, because I've got retorts and thoughts and feelings that we can't really do.
Yeah, no, I got you. No, you're right. Okay, so plot summary, what do we got?
A man struggles with memories of his past, which include a wife he cannot remember, and a nightmarish world no one else ever seems to wake up from.
That's really cryptic.
Yeah.
I feel like you probably could give more away in the description without giving away, like, the movie, but at the same time, I get why they're trying to be withholding. I understand
lends
it.
Nothing to the actual plot of the movie other than the bare bones, like, fishbone skeleton of the plot.
Yeah, which is not, like, I don't know. Is there anything that you guys would want to add that you feel truly is spoiler free?
I don't think so. I mean, there was some exposition in the beginning of the movie that I think, coupled with that description, would have given too much away.
I honestly feel like this is the kind of movie that isn't truly ruined by, yes, it is a mystery in many respects, but I feel like you could give a lot more away without ruining the mystery. But rolling with the IMDb description and sort of like some reticence I'm picking up from you guys, I think I'm going to leave it where it lay, but just sort of note that I think they could give a more detailed description without giving anything away.
I'm going to give my description of the movie after spoilers.
Fair enough.
Just in case my description gives too much away. I don't feel that it does, but others might feel different.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so would we recommend this movie? Oh, I'm sorry, shit.
We got to talk about who's in it.
Who the fuck we got in this movie?
We got lots of people in this movie.
So he didn't... Well, supporting, I don't know, main character was John.
Rufus Sewell.
Yeah.
So Rufus Sewell, you might know
him
is
from A Knight's Tale.
Yeah, he plays Count Adhemar in A Knight's Tale. He's the bad guy. He's also in Tristan and Isolde.
He's been in a lot of shit.
Oh, Rufus Sewell's in a ton of shit. He's amazing. He's got this kind of, like, lazy eye, and you would definitely know him, and he kind of looks like he would be... He's, like, a little bit of an asshole, but, like, a handsome asshole.
He looks like a Bond villain.
And he does, but, like, he's like a Bond villain you'd want to fuck.
Yeah.
Like, he's like a Bond villain that you're just like, oh, you just...
Like, I love that you're so bad.
Yeah, you are just a... Oh, fuck you.
Man, I'm looking at this guy's career.
So we're just getting thirsty over here for Rufus Sewell.
He's really been he's been relegated to, like, B movies.
Yeah.
I mean, not B movies per se, but, like...
No, but he is the kind of guy that, like, his body of work does not suggest his talent.
Right. I mean, because he went from the movie Blinky Bill, the movie, where he played Sir Claude, to Gods of Egypt. So,
I feel like...
it's not going well.
There are a lot of other people that sort of have careers like that, right? Like, I think Brendan Fraser and Cuba Gooding Jr. are good examples of that, right? Like, Brendan Fraser did, like, furry vengeance, and there's a lot of this shit in Hollywood that we don't understand as mere mortals, where it's like, I got locked into a contract and I got to do shit. Like, I get that. Like, I don't understand it, but I get it. And like, Cuba Gooding Jr. did like Snow Dogs and shit. But then meanwhile, Brendan Fraser's in the fucking Mummy and Encino Man, and fucking Cuba Gooding Jr.'s in Men of Honor.
I would even put Guy Pearce in that same category.
Oh, you think? Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, Guy Pearce did some weird shit. He's done a lot of B movies, but he was also in Passion of the Christ and The Count of Monte Cristo. So, like, huge roles for what I would consider a B actor.
I'm just saying, like, if I were to ever get into the Hollywood game, I'd only go A movies.
I think, of course, obviously. We know that. We know that about him.
Absolutely.
We know that.
Like, I'm not wasting my time.
I would do all the D movies.
No, you would do the D. There's no doubt.
That's for the DT and A.
Pot shots over here.
Yeah.
No, but to your point about like a B actor, I think like that's the thing though, right? Is there are A quality actors doing a lot of B movies, and then there are B actors.
Yeah.
And I think like, you know, Guy Ritchie, Rufus Sewell, Brendan Fraser, Cuba Gooding Jr. These are examples of like, especially Brendan Fraser and Cuba Gooding Jr. Like they are A-list, but at the same time, like they do like an unreasonable amount of shitty movies.
Yeah.
They don't headline as often as their name would suggest.
They're not like fucking Leonardo DiCaprio, where it's like DiCaprio doesn't get involved in a project if it's not going to hit it out of the park.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like everything that guy is in is magic, and he's a good friend of the podcast.
Yeah.
Right.
As is Rufus Sewell, so you know we'll have him on. Sure.
Yeah.
Who else? Who else have we got?
We got Donald Sutherland's son.
Tick tock.
Good old
24.
Kiefer.
Yeah. What was it? Was it John Bauer?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a 24 reference.
Oh, you fucking lost me.
Yeah,
there. I've never seen 24.
Ticking clock? Oh,
I've never seen 24.
So 24
ever.
has a ticking clock on the screen for every episode.
Every episode, okay.
And that's part of their shtick.
Okay.
So,
TikTok.
All right.
yeah, TikTok.
TikTok before TikTok was TikTok.
Yep.
TikTok. Kiefer Sutherland, yeah. Love him.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like, his body of work speaks for itself, but...
Especially his body.
But you want some choice Kiefer Sutherland, what do we got?
You know who I...
Well, you said 24.
24, but yeah, the one who I
The
like...
Fugitive.
Fucking, what's his face from Three Musketeers?
Oh, yeah!
Oh, yeah. Who did he play? There's Athos, Porthos, somebody else, and D'Artagnan.
I think he was the somebody else.
Was he the third one? I think
Lord.
that's what they called him.
We're all hunting for it now.
Athos, Porthos, and the third one.
And I think he is the third one.
But he was also in...
He's been so much.
no, he's been so much. It's like fucking not even fair. A Time to Kill, probably one of my favorite Kiefer Sutherland roles. He plays one of the asshole white supremacists. A Few Good Men. I mean...
He does play Athos in Three Musketeers.
He's Athos, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, and then, of course, The Lost Boys.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
And Stand By Me. Fucking
So,
classic.
Little bit of a sidebar here, but Athos is Kiefer Sutherland. Charlie Sheen
Yes.
is Aramis.
Yes. And then Nathan Lane, right? No, not...
Oliver Platt.
Yeah, Oliver
plays
Platt.
Porthos. And Chris O'Donnell,
Yes.
the Robin to our Batman, plays D'Artagnan.
to our Batman? Who's us?
Well, okay, the Robin to my Batman.
He was a good Robin.
And Cardinal Richelieu in that movie, fucking Tim Curry.
Tim Curry, yeah. No, definitely.
Love that.
Oh, he
man.
was an excellent villain in that movie.
Oh, yeah.
We also had Jennifer Connelly in this. Jennifer Connelly, classic, like, you know...
Famous from The Labyrinth.
Labyrinth, classic, beautiful actress. She was also in Requiem for a Dream.
A Beautiful Mind.
A Beautiful Mind, yeah.
She was also in The Rocketeer in 91.
She wasn't the Rocketeer, that's right.
She was also... So, this is fun. She's in the Snowpiercer television series.
Was she really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. We got William Hurt in this movie.
Oh, love William Hurt.
Fucking baller.
The Village.
Yeah. Lost in Space.
Lost in Space. One of my all-time favorite movies from my childhood.
One of my favorites that is on our list that I sort of like discovered, I think, in like my first year in college was Altered States.
Oh, yeah.
That was one of... I can't say this conclusively, but I think that was one of his first like starring roles.
So the last thing he did was a movie called A History of Violence in 2005.
That wasn't the last thing he did.
According to IMDb, it is.
Was it really? Did he die? Is William Hurt
Yeah,
dead?
he died in March.
Oh, he died in
this year.
2022.
Oh, shit. Wait,
Oh, no.
That's known for.
That's known for. That's the last known for.
Okay.
No, I was going to say, William Hurt's been in a lot of stuff since then.
But yeah, he died in March.
He was in Black Widow.
Yeah, he plays Secretary
Ross.
of State in the Marvel franchise.
Ross, who we all know is the Red Hulk.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that Secretary Ross was the Red Hulk?
I did not know.
Oh, man.
I did not.
I did not!
So you mentioned Tim Curry earlier, which
Yeah.
I thought was a good segue to Richard O'Brien.
Oh,
No
yes.
one's probably gonna know who that is.
I do.
But by the name, are you gonna know him by name, or did you just know him by face?
I mean, I know him by face.
Okay, yeah. So, Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yes. Riff Raff.
Yeah. Yep. I think it's probably where we can probably.
I do want to call out just a couple more sort of character actors that pop up in this, but Bruce Spence, he popped into my head immediately as Gaji, the one of the poachers in Ace Ventura: Pet Detective 2. He was also in Queen of the Damned. He played one of the old sort of vampire council.
Yeah, so
a very gaunt face, a very tall guy, gaunt face.
I actually recognized him immediately as well, but from a different movie, a little known. I mean, most probably wouldn't have seen it. A Star Wars.
Oh, is it Star Wars?
It's a Star Wars.
Oh my God, he was in a Star Wars.
Yeah. So he actually played a very small bit part in Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. He played one of the Utapauans that gives away that General Grievous is holding them hostage on the planet of Utapau. So I saw his face, I heard his voice, and I was like, oh my God, that's that guy.
It's that guy.
It's Tian Madan from Episode 3 of Star Wars.
Tian Madan.
Tian Madan.
Yep.
Amadeus.
Apparently he was also the Black Lieutenant in Lord of the Rings, which I didn't know.
But actually it makes a lot of sense. Because the Black Lieutenant... Is that the mouth of Sauron?
Yes.
Is that supposed to be synonymous with the mouth of Sauron? If it is, it makes sense because, like, I don't know, the dude's just got a very, like, long, very gaunt face, which is very, like,
it plays to the creepy angle really well.
It does. Well, the mouth of Sauron, like, didn't really, like, you didn't see his eyes. Like, he basically was just a mouth. And he had that kind of, like, long, creepy face with the big, yucky teeth. And I'm just saying, the dental plan for orcs,
brutal.
It's not good.
No.
It's, I mean, you know, as Sauron, say what you will. I mean, I know certain political parties laud him as a job creator.
Yeah.
He certainly put a lot of orcs to work, and industry flourished in Mordor during his reign.
And the economy was amazing.
Well, I mean, that's what they claim.
Right.
But, I mean, dental care was terrible. I saw orcs dying left and right of preventable diseases.
Yeah, and vision problems.
Working long hours.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of unacceptable.
Bad working conditions, a lot of just unsanitary practices.
Not ideal.
No.
Truly not ideal. Okay, so that's who's in this movie. You know who's in this movie now, and you can picture it.
Yeah.
And you've probably seen the movie already.
You can see it.
Based on our descriptions of who's in it. Would we recommend this movie?
I would recommend this movie. It tickles my personal fancy in that, like, I enjoy a good mystery. You know, it's no Michael Bay production, but I enjoyed it. I recommend it.
So I will say, yes, I would recommend this movie, and I would recommend this movie to general audiences, which I know is shocking coming from me, because I always have caveats. And tonight is no exception, because for those with attention deficit problems, this is going to be a hard movie to stay focused on, because I think we touched on it before. This movie does drag quite a few times throughout the movie. Now, there are certain key plot points that really take off and really move fast, but the time between those plot points is excessive.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you have a very short attention span and you prefer Michael Bay movies...
I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Exactly. Maybe just try and watch it. I greatly enjoyed it, so yes, I would very much recommend this movie, but I don't feel like everybody that I recommend this movie to would enjoy it.
That's fair. How about you, Colin?
I'm also going to break the mold a little bit. I'm actually, like, my instinct is to not recommend this movie.
Really?
Yeah, so I would recommend this movie to myself. This is the kind of movie that, you know, I kind of jam on, but truly for general audiences, I would say no. Especially nowadays, I think a lot of people would find many elements a bit dated. I think the pacing is a little slow. I think if I were to, like, stake my reputation on whether or not a random member of the populace would enjoy a movie, this is not the movie I would stake it on.
That is fair.
I would be sitting there going like, oh God, I wish I had the fucking green room right now. You know, like I wish I you know, or Kung Fu Hustle, like, you know,
or Tokyo Gore Police.
These are very different movies.
I gotta, you know, but I mean, as far as like engagement is like, it's the kind of movie that like I said, it's something that I like, but I really don't think most people would enjoy it. And I think even people who like would enjoy the elements of it would struggle because of other things, like some of the visuals maybe are a bit dated now, right? Like some of the pacing is a little off, that kind of shit. I would actually probably sit on the, like, don't recommend side. Now, I know the irony is, like, my rating will still come in over 5, but I don't think I would recommend it to a general audience necessarily.
And that is valid. I'm just a little bit shocked.
Yeah, I know. And again, I like it, but...
I don't think I've been present for an episode that you wouldn't recommend a movie to.
Well, we gotta spoil this.
There were one or two, but yeah.
I think we got some pretty good ingredients here.
Yeah.
Because if I'm the one with the highest recommendation, I think that might be a first as well.
So, are we saying we're ready to play?
I think
so.
Yeah.
Wait, hang on. What are we ready to do?
Whip, tip, tip!
Oh, he never ceases to amaze me.
This is a backwards way.
Wait, does that mean we're coming back out of spoilers?
No, we're going into, but we're doing so
backwards
in a reverse fashion.
Okay, it's like turning around to walk through a doorway.
Yeah, like when you walk up to a door and you're like, I'm gonna go through the door, but you're like, I'm gonna do a little spin first, and then you walk through the door.
Yeah,
you kind of pirouette through the door.
Yeah,
especially if there's an orgy on the other side of the door.
All
I'm back
the time.
into that.
Yeah,
well,
that's right. You gotta come in prepared.
Depends. It depends on who's invited.
Yeah,
because sometimes you want to like get a feel for
I'm gonna get a feel.
No, he's gonna get a couple feels.
Right. I'm just saying, like, how tall are the waves? Do you want to go at it from the side? You want to scope it out first.
There's no holes on the side.
Well, it depends on the party.
Have I been missing the holes on the side?
Yeah.
Oh, the ears. Those are on the side. Yeah. Okay.
That's true.
Okay.
Yep. Perfect size too.
Yeah.
Are they?
Yeah. For the.
Just
for
roll,
the tentacocks?
roll with the Jackson. Yes, they're perfect size. Yes, they're.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So rolling right along.
Whoa, you went Ferris Bueller on us.
Yeah, I went Ferris Bueller on us.
Yeah, that was the Day Bow Bow song.
Yep.
Yeah. I feel like this is going to be a sign off this time.
Boy.
All right, everybody together. Nice.
Okay, so movie opens on some exposition.
Oh, should we begin this with like a sort of general description of the movie as we thought IMDb should have had it?
Oh, yes, that's what I wanted to open with. So, what I would have described this movie as is a man finds himself in a world where he alone is aware of his surroundings and has no memory of what came before.
Yeah, I guess I would buy that. I mean, honestly...
Well, give us your take.
I don't know. I honestly think, like, you could give a lot more, like... Because, like, in the very beginning of the movie, like, the shit is stopping, and, like you said, there's exposition in the beginning, like, part of me wants to say, like, a man wakes up and has no memory and is being chased by shadowy figures through a city that never sees daylight.
Okay.
That's fair.
And through the revelations of his own life and the world he's living in, the viewer learns about the circumstances he's in.
So...
It doesn't really roll off the tongue, though.
It doesn't.
It's a hard one to describe.
So
It is. Yeah, but I think there are some where it's like, okay, the movie 7 Pounds is like a good example of a movie where I'm always like, just go and see it. I'm not going to tell you anything about it. Just fucking go and see it. Like, and I feel like this movie is like I truly don't feel like knowing everything about it is going to change much. I think the mystery of it is sort of like, it's not super mysterious. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, the mystery is solved pretty quickly. Like, you understand what's going on, but the details come out later. So, does that make sense?
Yeah. So, when you go to IMDb or IMDb, and you click on the plot summary, it gives you
Imbly
other people's plot summaries. And I think Johnny summed it up the best, in my opinion.
classic Johnny. Am I right?
Dude, Johnny and I go way back.
If I had a nickel for every time that Johnny had a good description on IMDb,
Oh, it's great.
how many cents would I have?
Oh, you could go on vacation.
Couple,
man.
maybe 2 or 3 cents. I don't know.
Yeah, I could go on vacation to like the
Less than-
backyard.
Yeah.
Less than a nickel's worth of cents.
You could buy.
Less than a nickel.
You could buy.
God damn! So this one is even compromised.
Right?
That's not good.
So Johnny says Dark City is a somber place. The sun never comes out, and with the chime of midnight, everyone in this metropolis goes to sleep on the spot. Every day is the same, except for one man who wakes up in a bathtub, unaware of who he is and what kind of sinister web he's got himself caught in. When mysterious beings known as the Strangers pursue this amnesiac, he soon realizes he has superpowers.
Fucking that's it. That's fucking Johnny. Thank you for finding that.
But
that's exactly what I'm saying. Is like there was so much more in that than the original description. And
it doesn't give
there's
enough of the
still,
movie away.
There's still enough to discover, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's still details to unravel, and literally everything you fucking said came out in, like, the first 5 minutes. So I truly don't feel like it does anything to sort of, like, ruin the mystery of the film. That was fucking Johnny, man. Johnny's my guy. That was Johnny Cage?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's out here fighting Outworld. Right, he's kicking Shang Tsung's ass, and he's fucking writing good IMDb descriptions.
Yeah,
Johnny Cage, my motherfucker.
And he can pull off a mean pair of sunglasses too.
Yeah, $500 sunglasses, asshole.
A man unravels his identity as he... I don't know, I'm fucking lost, dude.
Well, I was like, is this a limerick?
No, like...
There once was a man in Nantucket.
He's giving me a fucking haiku right now. He's like, a man unravels his identity. He opens the fridge. Bread.
No, but I mean...
That's the movie.
That's it, you got...
The problem with summarizing this movie is that you need so much information just to set up the events that take place. Like, you have to give so much information in order to, like, try to define what the plot is.
That is true. I think in, like, you know, that's sort of a hallmark in many respects of, like, sci-fi and fantasy is, like, describe Star Wars in, like, a line. And it's like, you can't. You can't be like...
I can't describe a Star Wars in a line.
You can't describe a Star Wars? You know, an orphan joins a terrorist organization.
What is that, Oliver Twist?
That's your... That's it.
Or Batman.
That's your sentence. Go with it. Like, that doesn't tell you what a fucking bantha is.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. All right, well, let's try to, like...
A man's father hunts him down over time and space.
Doctor Who?
Okay, so what does this movie open on?
Okay, so
give it to us, Mark.
It opens with some exposition, and they just come right out of the gate. I mean, they just go like right into it. They say every night everything changes. Mm-hmm. That there are these entities who are running tests on humans,
and they're called the Strangers.
Yeah, I mean, it like lays everything out in the first 30 seconds. And then just drops you in. Like, the plot follows the character as he navigates the setting that's already been laid out, you know?
I think I've got like a decent amount of, like, you know, sort of negative sort of details to say about this movie. But one thing I do appreciate is that, where it's like, they give you exposition in the beginning, and you're dropped in, and you're like, okay, I know what fucking literally none of that means. Yeah. And then like, you explore it through the eyes of the protagonist, right? As you're supposed to, right? Like, a protagonist is supposed to carry you through the story arc. Actually, you know, we joke about the Star Wars, but, like, Star Wars is not totally unlike that, right? Like, it's like, gives you this long fucking, like, text floating into space, and you're reading it, and you're like, the Galactic Empire and Senator, you know, Senator.
Yeah, you're like, cool, what the fuck does that mean?
Right. Like, fucking, all of these people are doing these things, you're just like, I got nothing. What does that mean? And then, like, it's not until you finish the movie that you're like, got it. Okay, now literally all of that yellow text makes sense. And this is very similar, right?
Yeah, it's not until she pins the medal on the Wookiee that you're like, oh, got it.
Yeah,
okay.
That's like, what a Wookiee is. Right.
She's
Okay, so let's just jump into, like, the course of events. Skip over the exposition. I don't think it's super helpful.
Yeah. Man wakes up in a bathtub.
Yeah.
A very, very grimy, dirty vet. Like, oh
Disgusting
my god.
bathtub.
I almost retched when I saw that water.
Like, you can't see his man bits because the water is so murky.
Right, but you did see
a butt.
butt.
Okay, like...
There
okay.
was a butt.
Not
and
just-
a crack.
I don't want to sidetrack this, like, right away, but, like, dude...
Nudity just really messes us up.
Motherfucking Rufus Sewell, man. That dude's got some honey hams.
Yeah.
Let's just like take a moment to appreciate
That was a pretty butt.
that dude claps.
Yep.
Like fucking
Claps ass
Christ.
cheeks.
I mean, this is the first thing I thought. He gets out and he like stumbles to the sink and it's just like bare man ass, and I'm just going like, good lord, that dude just
Can get it.
just full of thunder.
Yeah.
It's kind of fucked up because he like wakes up and the light is inexplicably like swinging back and forth. Like there's a light that's sort of suspended on a loose cable in the middle of this bathroom, and it's just swinging back and forth, and you're going like
it had been hit by something.
yeah, like
They did
there's
call back to
no
that pretty
reason
well.
for this thing to be swinging.
So the dude wakes up in the bathroom. There's like some clothes draped over a chair. There's a broken, weird syringe on the floor.
We've all been there.
Yeah. I mean, I was there yesterday.
Yeah, right. Sorry about that, by the way.
No, it's no problem. Just stop the light next time you leave. Because it was still swinging.
That's a reasonable request.
Yeah.
I'll take that under.
No, I
advisement.
get that.
Yeah.
Throws on the clothes that are over the chair, walks out of the restroom. He's in a room. He's still trying to piece together his circumstance. He sees a dead body in the room. It's a woman with like swirls kind of carved into her bare chest. I think we alluded to it earlier, but this was, I think, the time when we saw the single titty.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Single.
That was the lone tit.
The lone boob.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
Lone
just like
boob, new band name, I call it.
lone boob. Lone boob. So, yeah, he finds this woman and she's like on the other side of the bed. Like Mark said, she has like spirals like cut into her body.
Like, if you've ever seen Doctor Who, it very much resembled Gallifreyan.
Yeah.
Yeah. He panics, understandably. Fucking just like runs out into the night. He has no idea who he is. As he is leaving, it turns out he's at a hotel. He passes the lobby and they're kind of hassling him. The payment on his room has expired.
I will say, he gets a phone call before he leaves the hotel from a mysterious man identifying himself only as Schreiber.
Does he? I thought he just said, "I'm a doctor."
Oh, he might just say, I'm a doctor.
I think he just said,
yeah.
"I'm a doctor.
So-
Trust me, I'm a doctor."
So he gets a phone call and
Which
he's
is
like, hey,
historically has never worked for me.
No.
Anytime I'm just like,
Trust me, I'm a doctor.
Trust me, I'm a doctor. Like,
is an Eyes Wide Shut.
nobody fucking believes me. You know, I tried it in the movies that way sometimes. Like, yeah, okay, it's $8.50 to get in. No, trust me, I'm a doctor.
Yeah,
I
see-
need to get into that movie.
See, anytime I say I'm a doctor, people just drop their pants and assume I'm a proctologist.
Right.
When the first time I met you, that's what I assumed.
That's true.
I associate doctors with buttholes.
So this doctor calls him and basically says, "I'm a doctor. Get the fuck out of there. They're after you."
Yep.
And he gets the fuck out of
He
there.
gets the fuck
which
out of
is
there.
perfectly reasonable.
And it's true, they are after it.
They are. It's a kind of like a Matrix situation, right? With like when they call Neo when he's at work and they're like, fucking just trust me, get the fuck out of there. A little like that. And he gets out into the street, and this is something that I think we should maybe spend a little bit of time eddying on, is the aesthetic of the city that he finds himself in.
Oh, yeah.
It's fucking Gotham.
It is Gotham.
It's
That's
Gotham,
exactly. I
it's
literally
Sin City, it's...
wrote that down.
Oh, wow.
I know he's staring at my paper right now. For those of you listening, literally wrote Gotham vibe, nondescript, mid-century Art Deco. It's basically the same aesthetic as any type of Batman.
Specifically, I would say Tim Burton's
Batman, especially, but also Mystery Men, which was inspired greatly by Tim Burton and Michael Schumacher's Batman
And Zack
movies.
Snyder.
And Zack,
Yeah.
Well, Zack Snyder came much later.
That. Well,
But
that's
I'm
true.
saying like Mystery Men was inspired by like Schumacher and Burton in the same way that like you're literally looking at the city and you're like, it's dark, it's brooding, there's no sun ever,
And it's borderline forced exposure. Like it's a little bit disjointed.
yeah, and you're sitting there and you're like, it almost frustrates your mind in a good way because you're sitting there going like, okay, when is this? Like,
Yeah, you're
I'm
like,
seeing,
am I having a stroke? Is this the 60s or is this like way in the future?
yeah, like I'm seeing elements of like Art Deco, which suggests maybe like 1935, 1940. These things were built like, people like there's no television, but there are some radios that are kind of suggestive of like maybe mid-century type,
And I'm also seeing like Duesenbergs and
but then there were some cars that were clearly like mid to like late 60s, and you're like, it confuses the mind.
And nobody has a cell phone.
Nobody's got a cell phone. It confuses the mind kind of in a good way, to be perfectly honest. And I think they actually explain that away very well later in the movie.
Yes.
Which we'll get to, but it's fucking Gotham.
Yeah.
And Gotham itself, I think, has many elements of, we've already discussed this, but many elements of Lovecraft, but a lot of elements of Geiger. It's dark, it's sexy, it's brooding and industrial.
I would argue that like you're not meant to sit and overanalyze the setting, I think it's just meant to evoke feelings. It's all just kind of happening in the background. Anyhow.
Well, it's kind of like your mind is having a stroke. Like, you can't quite place it, but it looks familiar.
Which like is fucking perfect for this movie, because the main character is fucking suffering from amnesia and only has clips and phrases. And
he's got
literally
flashes of memory, and he can't place them, and he has no idea what the flashes are.
Admittedly, a perfect choice for an aesthetic, because your mind is going through, in some ways, the same thing that his mind is going through. It's like, this is all familiar. Any individual element is familiar, but the collective does not, to me, conjure a time and place. And that's problematic, and it's frustrating, and it's sort of itchy to my mind.
And when you look too close at it, it starts to break down.
Yeah.
But nobody in this film, other than Murdoch, who is our main character, is looking close at it, because to them, they see it every day.
Right.
One thing that I enjoyed is that, like, you go to any kind of metro area, you're going to bump into people who are struggling with mental illness, and you might hear statements that seem out of place. And
the end is nigh.
Yeah, just those types of things, because cities tend to be a place that kind of collects all sorts of people from all different strata of society. And one interesting element to this movie is that you would have people who are meant to like portray maybe homeless people, and they're spouting off these like wild things that you as the watcher know actually fit with what's going on. Like, the people who seem to have a firmer grasp on reality are the elements of society that are most typically ignored and dismissed. It makes you almost like question, what is real.
Mm-hmm.
There's a particular character that I'm thinking of when you brought that to mind. There's a detective with the police precinct known as Eddie Walensky. And Eddie Walensky seems to have suffered a psychotic break and is just the psychotic ramblings of a madman. Right? Just goes nuts, is drawing shit on the walls, think beautiful mind, like his office and his apartment are just pasted with pictures and drawings and just all this weird shit that doesn't make any sense to the people in the film. But as the viewer, you know that Walensky is actually clued in to the plot and the deeper meaning behind the movie.
Before we go any further, the guy who plays Walensky, I just wanted to make a quick aside, say he is an absolutely astounding actor. I really thought his performance in this movie was something to be noted. But getting back to sort of like our progression of events, so the main character, played by Rufus Sewell, is going through this city and trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. He has only clips and phrases of things, but is truly, a full amnesiac. Through a postcard that he has in his pocket, he ends up finding a billboard advertising Shell Beach and ends up in an automat, which, yet again, something that, like, is massively dated. Even by the time this movie came out, extremely dated. He gets in there and some guy says that he forgot his wallet in there. Gets his wallet out of there and realizes his name is
John Murdoch.
John Murdoch. He leaves with a prostitute.
A lady of the evening, if you will.
Sort of. And that, like, the prostitute's making eyes at him as he walks into the automat, and he starts getting hassled by some police officers that are in there because they see him kind of acting weird. And she kind of steps in and like helps him navigate out of that interaction with the police. And then that's the kind of the segue to her room. So it's almost like she like befriended him. Like he didn't go out in search of a prostitute.
Correct.
I just think that distinction.
No, for sure. And
because he's still trying to figure out who he is.
Not that I had like a great deal of familiarity with prostitutes, but this prostitute is perhaps a great outlier in the normal distribution of like prostitute attractiveness.
I know one or two.
I think this one.
You saying she's a cutie pie?
I think she was pretty flame for a lady of the night.
She might have been throwing him a freebie.
Maybe, but like, well, I feel like when you're that hot, you can charge a premium. I feel like a freebie is not in your game.
Well, I don't know. Anyway,
Mark is not interested in discussing prostitutes with us.
Well, I'm just saying.
What are you saying? Tell me. Enlighten us.
Well, look, it's like this.
We gotta look, Jackson. Jackson, look at him. God damn it, look at him.
Oh, I'm looking.
Oh, he's looking.
Don't you look at me, God damn it.
Well, he just
told me to look at
It was a test. It was a test. You failed.
Oh, God damn it, it was a test. Hang it.
Look, when I say
like
look
high
at me,
school
what I
all
mean
over
is
again.
don't.
Fucking
Don't
SATs over here.
God damn it. Anyway, they go up to the room. She starts disrobing.
Titties.
This is where we see the double, the pack of titties.
Yep.
You know, like a 2-packer.
Yeah.
Like a doubler.
Buy one, get one free.
Quite nice. If
it's,
I will admit, I had the strangest boner.
The strangest?
What are you talking
I don't think there was any mystery in that boner.
There was a lot of mystery in this movie.
There's mystery in the movie, but not in the boner.
Well, okay, that's fair.
The boner was
that was an appropriate boner.
A pretty clear linear equation of like nice pair of tits plus enjoying tits equals boner.
Yeah, well, I think we need to circle around. Let's not draw any conclusions.
We saw her butt too.
A butt. Yep, there was a butt to be seen.
Side butt.
But
then he leaves.
Shall we say but? Just prior to this, we're kind of all over because this is a fucking confusing movie. But prior to this, he had reason to believe that he was a serial killer,
like a Jack the Ripper type.
Yeah, so like we said,
articles, like clipped out articles in his pocket.
So he like woke up in this fucking crazy place with this chick who had like she was dead and she had like spirals cut into her and all this shit, and there was a bloody knife in the room, and he had no recollection.
Back to the opening scene.
Yeah, and he later discovers like a fucking like bevy of articles in his coat pocket about this serial killer who killed all these prostitutes. So he's basically wondering, am I this serial killer? And he basically has no drive to murder this woman and decides to leave.
To be fair, she's like fully naked at this point, and he just pieces.
Right.
I don't think I would have had the self-control to walk out of that room.
Well, he's not there with a purpose. He's still kind of stumbling around. And
Doesn't matter.
I've stumbled around plenty.
There's a beautiful naked woman like 10 feet from you, and you're just going to walk out of the room?
Well, he doesn't know. Maybe that's not his jam. He doesn't know that much about himself yet. He only recently learned his first name. Maybe he's into things outside.
I feel like your jam is one of the first things that you sort of dial into, even with amnesia.
Your jam is pretty biologically inclined.
Your jam is kind of...
Could it be jelly?
It's got to be jelly.
Jam don't shake like
that. That's the first fucking thing that came to my mind. Yeah. This is an extremely complicated movie to describe because it is a mystery, because there's so many twists and turns, and there's a lot of shit that needs to sort of come out during the movie.
Well, a lot of it is visual too. It's kind of hard to insert into a podcast setting.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well,
so where does he go after he leaves the prostitutes?
Man, he ends up at home.
He goes to his house and he meets Jennifer Connelly,
playing Emma.
We get introduced to her to a scene that we didn't describe where she's like a lounge singer. Yeah, she's a very sexy lounge singer.
I don't know. I mean,
what? Whoa!
I see.
Whoa! You hold your tongue, sir. You hold your tongue.
I'm saying Jennifer Connelly, pretty lady, but I never bought that she was a lounge singer, and that like her delivery was just so like bare.
But that's kind of a lounge singer, right? Like it's just like it's like sexy apathy.
But it wasn't.
Where it's like
that,
I'm gonna sing, but but I'm so fucking tired.
Yeah, but she just
And
looked
I'm
like
just
she
gonna
was
sing all sexy because when I get tired and drawn out, my voice kind of sounds.
I
like this.
loved every second of it.
I love that shit.
Maybe I'm alone. This was
She is just
no Jessica Rabbit.
in sexuality.
I don't know. I mean, Jessica Rabbit, Jennifer Connelly. I think I'd lean on Jennifer Connelly.
Jennifer Connelly.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Well, certainly,
I mean, Jennifer, Jessica Rabbit, I mean...
is a cartoon.
Clear disadvantage of being a cartoon.
Yeah.
But Jennifer Connelly also has the advantage of being extremely attractive and a great actress.
And
Yes.
three-dimensional. And three-dimensional, for sure.
Okay, this is another total aside, but let's talk about Jennifer Connelly's eyebrows.
Dude.
Okay, so...
Couple of caterpillars.
No, they were like thick and like full...
But
And I wanted to call it out because like I fucking love her eyebrows in this movie. They're fucking full female eyebrows and they're fucking sexy and she owns them. And it is not some like, okay, I've got, 10,000 eyebrow hairs and I'm going to pluck all but 5 and then I'm going to pencil in some bullshit. No, fuck that.
Nope.
You got a brow? You need some eyebrows on that brow.
Fuck yeah.
And she fucking like owns it so hard and I love it.
It's one of her defining features.
It is. And it fucking, if you want a good example of sexy female eyebrows, you check out Jennifer Connelly in Dark City and I will stake my reputation on that shit. And I just fucking cannot handle what eyebrows have become in sort of, quote unquote, you can't see me, I'm doing air quotes, modern standards of beauty.
Yeah. So one thing that we forgot to mention in the beginning exposition is they call out that there are these creatures from another planet. We'll call them aliens. I don't think he calls them aliens.
No, but they're super aliens.
Yeah, they're definitely aliens. He refers to them as the strangers. They have telekinesis. They're able to manipulate space with their mind. They are not able to read one's mind, but they can manipulate space. So telekinetic, not telepathic. Yeah. And it's mentioned that they rearrange the city every night. That's important. He mentions it in the beginning, and then we're just kind of drip-fed exposure to them. Like in the scene where he's like running out of the room in the very beginning, you see them come out of an elevator and head into that room, but there's nothing else to it. You just kind of see them in passing. They're all pasty white with like black, I don't we call them like trench coats, I suppose.
Totally trench coats. So basically think Pinhead without the pins.
Yeah.
Right? Bald head, pasty white skin, long black trench coats that Mark and I would have happily worn circa 15 years ago, 20 years ago.
Perhaps.
I definitely wore one.
Yeah.
Okay, so all three of us
Still have mine.
would have happily donned these clothes, and to be fair, we all have pretty fucking pale, pasty, pallid skin, so...
Yeah, but I'm definitely not bald.
You are not bald.
Right. And
nor am I.
I border
Mark's
on
wearing a
transparent.
hat, so we're not sure.
Could be. Little secret.
little secret here, little secret there. Well, I went full fucking Mickey Mouse there, didn't I?
Yeah.
It's little secret, ho-ho!
Oh, boy.
You'll never guess!
Golly gee willikers.
Oh my goodness!
Are you bald? Yeah. Okay, so I had to get that in there. And we see like bits and pieces of them almost as just a part of the background scene. There's a bit where
they're chasing him basically, like throughout this the beginning part of this movie. He doesn't know who the fuck they are, but they're fucking chasing him.
He also has no idea why they're chasing him.
No, but that phone call that he got from the doctor, the people that were after him, it was these. And they did at one point sort of reveal that, like, we reanimate your dead as hosts. So, like, basically, there are these little alien, they kind of
squids almost.
Yeah, they kind of look like the face huggers from Alien, but translucent.
And poorly CG generated.
Yes, very, very, like, poorly generated, and they infect dead humans and sort of use them as vessels.
I will say 90% of this movie is practical effects, with the notable exception of A, the rearranging of the city, and B, the depiction of the true nature of the strangers.
See, I would actually, I feel like I would reverse that, to be perfectly honest. Like, not to disagree, but I think this movie, I think there were specific aspects of practical effects that I was, very pleased with, but I think this movie was a great deal of CG, and unfortunately, I feel like a lot of that CG didn't hold up.
No, it did not.
The practical effects did, and I would say, if I were to give a breakdown, I know this stands in contrast to what you were saying, but I think I would say maybe 70% CG and maybe 30% practical. Okay. And I thought the practical held up. I thought the CG was a little lacking.
It was dated.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I might, with this one, I might agree more with Jackson in that I think there was more practical than CGI. But the CGI was so dated that, anytime you saw it, it was CGI, and
it pulled you out of the immersion.
Very much so.
Yeah.
One of my biggest gripes, to be perfectly honest.
I think there's a lot of CGI nowadays that we don't even pick up on, and I think every time CGI was used in this movie, it was obvious.
Blatantly obvious.
So, there you go. A little sort of breakdown of that and sort of our sort of take on it. So, kind of rolling with the progression of the film. Rufus Sewell is, playing John Murdoch, is running through this city, this completely dark city.
Title drop.
Thinking that he is a serial killer. And he tracks down his wife. He's running from these fucking Pinhead Hellraiser types. And finds out that, she had cheated on him, blah, 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 infidelity, yada, yada. Meanwhile, a police officer played by William Hurt is tracking him down under the suspicion of being this serial killer. And William Hurt replaced one of his contemporaries who has gone mad, that Jackson previously described, and sort of gone, fucking haywire, writing all over the walls, that kind of shit.
Sort of like a Renfield from Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yeah, a little bit. So he is also tracking him. The pallid aliens that we call the Strangers also have Kiefer Sutherland as their lackey, who plays a psychiatrist who understands the human mind to the point where they need his skills to mix human memories into a believable soup before they are injected into people every night at midnight when the world stops, and they change it for their own experiments.
During what they call the tuning.
So tuning is what Mark had described as telekinesis, right? It's the ability to sort of change things, mutate things, and this group of Pinhead types, right? The Strangers get together and change the world collectively through a collective tuning.
It's also what a musician or band might do to their instruments before playing.
I don't think that's true.
No?
No. I've been to a lot of punk shows, and I can confidently say that tuning is not something that musicians do before.
Matthew Lillard would know best.
He would.
Wow.
I know what he was going for.
I don't know if that went through or not.
I know what he was going for with that.
Every time that they do their tuning, they chatter their teeth, and there's this weird kind of
And that was sound. Mark chattering his teeth.
Yeah.
So they sound real good.
Drink it in.
That happened.
A lot of milk there.
Drink it in.
It's good for the bones. Good for the bones.
It's vitamin D.
I got some vitamin D for you.
Oh, dick.
Yeah!
It's good for the bones.
I got a bone for you.
I think the middle part of this movie is something that can kind of be summed up in...
chase scene.
Yeah, sort of short order chase scene, right? So, John is running. He's got his wife. She doesn't know whether to believe him. William Hurt is chasing him. Don't want William Hurt chasing you. That's never good.
Definitely not.
Running from Hellraiser Pinhead types. Also not something that's ideal.
Not on my to-do list.
In the grand scheme of things, in the pecking order that is things that could happen to me, running from Hellraiser Pinhead types, it's kind of far down.
Never after August.
Never after August. No. It's like white pants and running from Hellraiser Pinhead types.
Never after Labor Day.
Totally passé after Labor Day.
Right.
And literally the beginning, the middle part of this fucking movie is just consumed with him running from these fucking nutters. And he also, it turns out, possesses the ability of
their tuning.
Their tuning gooden.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And
it's revealed in the automat.
Yes, we do figure that out at the automat, so like early on in the movie, and I think also early on they established that that is like part of the reason why these weirdos are chasing him, is that he possesses the same skill that they do. It's referenced briefly that like it takes multiple of your lifetimes in order to learn this technique, and this guy has just kind of figured it out. But he doesn't realize it. It's there are many elements in this movie that have been picked up by other movies. One of those being The Matrix. And there's a lot of parallels in how he is dropped in a situation and he's being chased. But another one of those parallels is that he has this weird innate ability to manipulate the world around him.
He has the gift.
Yeah, he's the one. Oh, he's never called the one. Like, but
no, but he is. I mean, you're totally right.
Whoa.
Yeah.
It's so funny. We don't mean to make fun of Keanu Reeves because he's also a friend of the podcast, and he is a genuinely kind soul.
And Canadian.
We went golfing the other day.
Is he Canadian?
He's not Canadian.
How do you know that?
Because we went golfing the other day.
You and Keanu?
Yeah.
Reeves?
Yeah.
Matthew?
Isn't Keanu... I thought Keanu was a Hawaiian name.
He is.
I thought he was Hawaiian. At least partially.
No, he's a Hawaiian Canadian.
He is.
A Hawaiian.
Of the Canadians that I've met, they have also been to Hawaii, and it makes me jealous because I've never been to Hawaii, and I'm, it's like, how do you get there? How do you get to Hawaii? And it's like, I don't know.
It's like, how do you get to Carnegie Hall?
Yeah.
Practice, am I right?
Yeah.
Like, how do you get to Hawaii? You can practice, but you're not going to get there.
No.
So, you just pay for a ticket like a normal person.
Start swimming.
Delta.
But like
Delta
I was
Airlines.
saying, Delta. Matrix parallels. There's even a scene where a knife gets thrown at his face, and he
Whoosh.
stops it with his mind, flips it around, and throws it back at the guy who threw it at him.
Yeah.
So it's there are a lot of Matrix parallels.
Matrix, baby.
Yeah.
Matrix algebra. Dot product.
Bum 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 ba
right. So next, no. So I think the reason we're eddying slightly is the middle of this movie is basically one enormous chase scene, right? So you've got the main character played by Rufus Sewell, who is trying to get his memory back. His wife, who is accused of infidelity, played by Jennifer Connelly, is trying to support him while also trying to figure all this shit out. A police detective, played by William Hurt, is also trying to track him down and arrest him, but is also trying to figure this shit out and is noticing some of the inconsistencies, especially because of his police, not partner, but another policeman who was formerly on this case who had sort of discovered the bounds of this city or the lack thereof. And you've got the strangers who are chasing Rufus Sewell and these other individuals who are tangentially connected to him through the city because they know he is a threat because he can tune. And you've got Kiefer Sutherland, who is the lackey, or seemingly lackey, of the strangers, who is human, but is sort of doing their bidding, is immune from their sleep bullshit where they can sort of just put everybody to sleep, and is helping them sort of like mix and match memories of people in order to create experiments to understand what truly makes us human. In that way, I think this movie sort of succeeded as sci-fi in that I truly feel like the hallmark of good sci-fi. I think a lot of people feel this of fantasy. I actually prefer fantasy to sci-fi, but I don't necessarily agree with this. But the hallmark of good sci-fi is sort of like philosophic introspection, right? Or like deep questions that are asked about human nature through the introduction or advent of a technology or an experience that doesn't exist today, but would successfully test certain aspects of our humanity.
How very Asimov of you.
I think Asimov certainly had sort of the first crack at this, or the first, actually, that's bullshit. Asimov didn't have the first crack at this. No. I think Mary Shelley probably had one of the first true healthy sort of whacks at this in a sci-fi context, right? Like, what makes us human? Frankenstein was a very good dissection of one very narrow band of those aspects. Asimov did an amazing job at sort of,
picking up where she left off.
Expanding that, not that, again, not that there weren't those in between them that did an amazing job, but all good sci-fi should carry that torch, right? It should make us think, yeah, but what if this?
Yeah.
And if you're sitting there going like, what if this, like, you know, again, Asimov is a king, is a master of this. Like, what makes us human, right? Like, which is not the only philosophical question to ask in sci-fi, but one of the greatest, right? Like, what if you could craft a being that had its own artificial but still very real memories? What if they could make decisions independently? What if they could do this? What if they could do that? What if androids dreamed of electric sheep? Like, you know, fucking, what if such and such?
Yeah.
Is the most fundamentally sci-fi question, and I think this movie asked it in an amazing way.
A very creative way.
A creative way in the sense of, like, the characters in this movie were trying to get at the question of what makes us human.
What is the human soul?
What is the human soul? What provides the foundation for human individuality? Because these beings were suffering from a sort of slow extinction, and they were also suffering from the situation where they all share a collective memory. And they were trying to study a species, that is us, that had individual memories in order to understand what makes us unique individuals. And so they were playing with aspects of human memory in order to fully understand what makes us human. And
Yeah.
that is something that I think, you know, we can all sort of relate to, right? Like, we are all nothing but a sum of our collective experience, right?
Well, it is an interesting question. You know, do the memories make the man? If you were to wake up tomorrow and have the memories of someone completely different, would you live the life of that different person? Or would the structure, like the physiological structure that is your mind, that is your unique self, is that what dictates your actions? Or is it all of those experiences that you've gone through?
Which is a fascinating question.
If you were to wake up as a serial killer tomorrow, would you continue to kill?
Yeah, which is what the main character faced in this movie. And the sort of like base philosophical question that is posed, but the sort of larger overarching question is, do your memories dictate what you do? Or does this, as Mark put it, the physiological structure of your brain dictate what you do? Or is it truly a combination of the two? And I don't think the movie was coming down on a side in that.
Well, it can't.
It can't really, but
well, I mean,
I think in the sense that all good sci-fi should ask questions that spark this kind of conversation.
Right.
And that can't be answered.
I would say, as many gripes as I have with certain aspects of this movie is good sci-fi.
Yes.
And I would take exception to the can't be answered. I think it can be, we just can't yet. As most good sci-fi, it's like you're asking a question that could be answered with enough effort, time, consideration, but has not been yet. Well, it's just out of reach.
They did give themselves... They gave themselves an out in that the main character, who did not go on to be a serial killer, had his inception moment. It was an unsuccessful transmission of those memories. So they didn't have to answer it. Because you could say that, like, the main character didn't go on to be a murderer, so clearly it's about structure and not about memory. Well, they gave themselves an out by showing that he wasn't successfully implanted with those memories. And I don't know if that was intentional, so that they didn't have to fall on a side, or if it just kind of fit the narrative.
I think also, like, there were a lot of other sort of, like, little plays at it, right? Like, a lot of other characters were shown to be changing their behavior as a result of their memories. Like, there was a sort of poor guy. He was kind of destitute. He was sitting at a table with his wife eating soup, and he's sitting there going like, oh my God, I'm going to get laid off. This is fucking terrible. Like, they just can't, you know, they won't keep me on, and yada, yada, yada. And then his life morphs into that of a sort of aristocrat, somebody who's in a position of power, and his whole fucking, you know,
demeanor and accent, dialect changes.
Yeah, but also his house transforms into a mansion, and he's sitting at his, you know, suddenly it goes from like
a 2-person table to like a 10-person table.
Yeah, with like fucking candelabras and, you know, the whole 9 yards. And he's sitting there going like, well, I had to let Johnson go because...
It was Fredrickson.
Fredrickson. Oh, Fredrickson said such and such. And I had to adjust my monocle, so he had to go. And and he was perfectly happy to fucking fire people. But at the same time, they sort of like, you know, played against that in the guy, when Rufus Sewell was originally leaving the hotel, the individual who was trying to say, hey, yo, you gotta you got to pay your fucking hotel bill, said, no free days for good behavior. No days off for good behavior. That's what it was. And then he gets transformed into a newspaper salesman. And Rufus Sewell interacts with him briefly, and he says, how long have you been working here? Keep in mind, 10 hours ago, this guy was working at a hotel. His memories had been changed. He goes, 25 years, no days off for good behavior. And so they sort of play on the other aspect of human memory and sort of the, perhaps the structure of the brain, right? Like, and it's funny, like, I say all this. I have this exact same experience editing this podcast. The exact same experience. Seriously. We are all just fucking meat machines in some respects. Like, you would not believe the amount of times I'm editing this podcast. I've said this to people before to illustrate this point, but like, I'm listening to it and I hear some shit that you guys say and I'm like, oh man, I would say this in this scenario. And then I hear myself say it verbatim. Not just the words, but the way I had intended to say it. I would hear myself fucking like echo it back and say it back to me. And I'm sitting there going like, fuck, I am just this like fucking meat machine of ready-made bullshit.
Yep.
And you guys press the right buttons and it spits out some fucking, silly ass speech from me. And there's a piece of me that loves that and a piece of me that hates that. But I think this movie sort of calls into question exactly what that is, right? Like, I can come up with an original thought, I truly can, but the piece of me that would come up with an original thought takes a lot more than sort of my responsive self.
Right.
I think that's the whole thing this movie's trying to get at, right? Like they understand, these aliens, they understand, like, okay, if I fuck with your memories, you'll play along for a minute, for a while, because the pathways in your brain dictate that in this circumstance you do this, blah 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 blah. But if you actually like apply executive function, you can change those pathways.
Which is
right?
probably why they do it every night. Because if they let the simulation run too long, the simulation breaks down. So
yeah, maybe that's a good thought.
If you stay ahead of the morph, if you will, the inevitable.
Yeah, that's a thought.
Yeah, I mean, that's a much deeper philosophical question that they're flirting with. But again, that's what makes good sci-fi.
No, it truly is. Like we said, like this movie, is basically a long chase scene in the middle.
Yeah.
It sort of ends in your standard kind of sci-fi climax, right?
Well, okay, so one through line with the narrative is that he's chasing after, was it Shell Beach?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and it's on postcards, it's on billboards. He meets up with an uncle.
Uncle. You can't see I'm doing air quotes.
Yeah, someone who's an uncle figure.
Kurt Harris.
Yeah, doctor. He's not a doctor.
Trust me, I'm a doctor.
The doctor. But like no one knows how to get to Shell Beach, and they don't kidnap, but they more or less kind of coerce the doctor, Kiefer Sutherland, into like taking them to Shell Beach. And they end up like opening up this like door. It's all very confusing. I mean, it's meant to feel claustrophobic too. But like he opens this door and there's this like really like industrial looking room. And on one of the walls of this room, there is another one of these billboards. And they start tearing the paper off the billboard. Well, it's not a billboard; it's just a wall. But they tear the paper off.
Yeah, it's a billboard on a wall for sure.
But but it's in a room, so it's.
No, you're right. But I mean, it's a billboard-sized poster. Let's say.
Yeah. So they tear down the decal and start taking hammers to the brick wall right behind it, and all of a sudden it gives way and it's just space.
Empty space.
Like space as in.
Outer.
Yeah.
That was not a good start.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
That was not a good Star Trek whistle. I'm sorry.
They being...
I
prostrate myself before you and beg your forgiveness.
It's fine. Nobody who's
get
ever...
my prostrate checked.
I'll check it for you.
Give it a little squeeze. It's a little squeeze. So, William Hurt's character and one of the Cenobites, that's what I'll just call them.
We really should just call them Cenobites, that's right. For those of you listening at home, Cenobites were the creatures in the Hellraiser franchise, of which Pinhead was one.
Yeah.
Yes. They get sucked out, pushed out, pulled out by space wind. I don't know. And we get to kind of view through the eyes of the detective as he's kind of floating off. And what we see and this is probably the big wool removed from your eyes, the curtain drops. The city is just that. It is a city that is floating in space. There's nothing beyond the city. There is no atmosphere or sky. The reason why it is always dark in this city is because, there is no sun. The spaceship is... Well, I guess it is...
It's pivoted away from the sun so that the city faces, for lack of a better term, the dark side of the moon.
The darkness.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a spaceship, I guess.
101.6. The dark.
It's a petri dish. It's a labyrinthian petri dish for experimentation.
Totally. So one of the things that also gets revealed sort of when they get sucked out of the fucking, doodle bob there, is there does appear to be some kind of force field that exists around the city to sort of trap in the air and sort of make it, insulate it slightly from the horrors of space. So you kind of see these characters get sucked out and they sort of fly away and they pass through this force field into the sort of, darkness of space. After a beat, let's say, it kind of climaxes with them catching Rufus Sewell, taking him down into the sort of bowels of the city, beneath the city, where the Cenobites live. And trying to implant him, he says, "No, I'll fuck it to you," and becomes all fucking Neo on them. Goes Neo all over everybody's asses.
Everybody.
Okay. Everybody's asses.
Like
nobody's ass was safe
hang on.
from Rufus Sewell's neofication.
Yeah, so he gets the neofication. We discover that Kiefer Sutherland's character has become disenchanted with his position with the Cenobites, and he concocts this syringe that contains all these synthetic memories of how to utilize the tuning gift. And in that pivotal scene where they're about to implant the Cenobite memories and try to merge with John Murdoch, Kiefer Sutherland's character does a little switcheroo on the syringes and gives him this again, it's in the Matrix. It's like that scene where they're just implanting memories. That's what this is. He implants the memories.
Neo wakes up and he's like, "I know Kung Fu."
Yeah, this is that.
He fucking uploaded Kung Fu to his brain. It's the same shit. He fucking sticks a needle instead of the back of his head like in the Matrix. It's in the front of his head. It's like in his forehead. And Rufus Sewell wakes up and goes full Neo on everybody's
Psychic
asses.
Kung Fu.
Oh,
yep.
Yeah. He fucking goes, woo, 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 woo. And I say woo, woo, woo. And I say
brain food.
When I say woo, 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 I mean that in the sense that...
womp, 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 womp.
No. It's like a woo, 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 woo. And it's like that because... See, I use that very intentionally because that is the sound that Aquaman makes. And let's be honest, the fucking CGI that had it coming out of his fucking forehead was very reminiscent of Aquaman.
I so hate that you're right now.
Yeah, right? I fucking... That's it. I hit the nail on the head.
God damn it, you did.
It was not good.
So... He goes Neo all over everybody's asses.
With his brain foo.
Yeah.
Really? Brained the shit out of them.
Within 3 or 4 minutes, he takes them all out.
And he he pretty much lays waste to the Cenobites, remakes the world in his image, and becomes the Jesus character, and
then roll credits.
Re-meets his wife and roll credits.
Yeah, and they couldn't really end it anywhere else because they kind of established that, this is an Earth. There's no winning. You're trapped. So, the best they could do is, he tilts the spaceship towards the sun, so, it's finally, daytime.
Which, let's be honest, there was no telling the distance that spaceship was to that star. So, let's say it was, a billion miles closer to that fucking star, he turns it and everybody bursts into flame. I mean, Mercury is right up on the sun.
He's not an astrophysicist.
The ass side of Mercury is, negative fucking degrees, and the fucking front side is, like rivers of lead.
Yeah.
So, he turns that fucking thing, he could fucking just waste some motherfuckers.
Yep.
Everybody died.
That is reckless.
Yeah.
That is bare bones, the most reckless thing that you could do.
He doesn't even know who he is. How does he know space?
Establish your place in the cosmos, sir.
Right. But if we start
read some Carl Sagan.
Don't start picking, because it all it will unravel very quickly.
Will fall apart.
I'm gonna pull the thread of this sweater.
Yeah, anyway. So yeah, that's kind of how it ends. Saves the day, turns the spaceship, Cenobites are gone.
What do we like?
I liked the uniqueness of this.
Yeah.
I think had this movie come out today, I would have criticized it for pulling from so many other things, like The Matrix and The Truman Show and, all of these concepts that have come out since this movie. But because this movie, I think it came out...
predates Matrix for sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it predates Truman Show.
When did Truman Show come out?
I want to say like the early aughts.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, that sounds right to me. I have to give it major points for creativity. Yeah.
98. So the Truman Show was same year.
Okay,
so I mean, the whole time I was watching this, I was getting Truman Show vibes, and that is not to dig on this movie. It is just the fact that I have seen Truman Show and I have not seen Dark City. So the whole time I was watching this, I was comparing it, and that is not fair. But same vibe. I mean, you take The Matrix and you throw in a little Truman Show, add a little bit of Zack Snyder, and you've got yourself Dark City.
Yeah. Well, and throw in a Burton and a Schumacher Batman. 50-50.
Yeah.
Burton and a Schumacher.
But, I mean, you could say that maybe this thing pulled its aesthetic from pre-established Tim Burton-esque movies. Maybe. I don't know. I really enjoyed the creativity.
I honestly,
that
like,
I've
got knocks against this movie, but I honestly wouldn't put that as one of them.
No.
I think it chose its aesthetic for a very specific reason. I think it did it because they wanted something that was nondescript. And they're sitting there going like, Burton, Schumacher fucking nailed the idea of Gotham as this sort of like mid-century nondescript city.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's what we want to go for. And then they explicitly explain it and call it out in the movie. He says basically this city is a cobbling together of memories from the people we've abducted. And like, if you abducted a shit ton of fucking people in 1998 from the Earth and cobbled together their memories would probably average out to about, maybe 1955, 1960, right?
Yeah, because you've got people that survived World War II, and you've also got people that barely survived the first Gulf War.
Yeah, and you would have a very sort of healthy mix of what was there, what was available, yada yada, which is, I think, a pretty cool explanation, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. I will say I really liked the actors that were in this.
The actors? Yes. Or the acting?
The actors.
Okay.
So, the actors that were in this acted very well. Rufus Sewell, William Hurt, Jennifer Connelly, Kiefer Sutherland. Kiefer Sutherland played a part that is very odd. Almost Igor-like.
Yeah, his cadence when he was talking, very...
specific.
Yeah. Even like in his opening lines, there was definitely intention.
It's like he had asthma or some rheumatoid issue. So his characterization was very similar to that of like Igor, or if you're familiar with Young Frankenstein, Igor.
They told me it was Igor.
Yeah.
Well, they were wrong then, weren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no,
Frankenstein.
Do you also say Frederick?
No, it's Frederick.
Why isn't it Frederick Frankenstein?
It's not. It's Frederick Frankenstein.
Doctor.
They called him Mr. Pig.
Dr. Pig?
So, Dr. Pig. Dr. Pig, that's a new band name. So this movie for me was like an exercise in dichotomies, right? Like, I would give this movie like 10 out of 10 for creativity, for the sort of sci-fi philosophical bend. I thought they fucking nailed the sci-fi. And for what practical effects were present. I really do.
Yeah.
If you guys are done with your what you liked, I'll move into what I didn't like.
Yeah.
Which sort of like will piggyback on that. What I did not like, which is, it's kind of a, it's an extensive list of sort of picky things. The first one, perhaps not so picky. I thought the acting was subpar in this movie. I hate to admit it, but people I loved, you guys were talking about like Kiefer Sutherland. And I fucking hated his character choice for, like, the sort of, like, out-of-breath scientist. I hated his accent. I hated, like, listening to him talk just fucking enraged me. It was just too much for me. I really wish he would have chosen a
different characterization.
Yeah, no, I really, really do. It was hard to listen to.
I will level with you on that, because the characterization I did not enjoy, but the fact that Kiefer Sutherland can play Jack Bauer and Dr. Schreiber at the same time.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is, like, I think Kiefer Sutherland is an amazing actor. Outstanding actor.
But his character...
Next level actor.
His character in this movie was obnoxious at best.
This was not his best performance. And Rufus Sewell, to be perfectly honest, I love him. I think he's an A-list actor. I think he's a top quality actor.
Forgettable.
This was not his best performance. No. And there were some scenes where I'm sitting there going like, really? Really? There was one scene where I can't remember exactly what was going on, but he, like, you know, I think it was with him and Kiefer Sutherland. He's kind of like grabbing him by the coat and he's like, I don't care. Tell me about such and such. And I'm just like, not a good performance. Actually, the irony is, I think the best performance, the one that actually, like, I literally fucking wrote down on the paper.
Jennifer Connelly.
Jennifer Connelly was great. She was fine. The guy who plays Eddie Walensky.
Oh, yeah.
The guy who plays the guy who's sort of like, has gone crazy, the guy who was investigating the serial killer, and then he ends up going crazy because he realizes, through his investigation that the city has no bounds. Like, the city is a circle.
He sees beyond the Matrix.
Yeah, he sees a little bit too far, and it drives him fucking crazy. That guy who played him, his performance was fucking outstanding, I thought.
And he's a nobody.
I had no idea who the guy is, but he did a fucking incredible job. Whereas these A-listers that I've seen knock it out of the park countless
Connelly,
times,
William Hurt,
just, Jennifer Connelly and William Hurt, I would say neutral.
Yeah.
Rufus Sewell and Kiefer Sutherland, I would say underperformed.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it because I love them. Writing, I thought, was a little subpar. I thought it was a little clunky.
Yeah. It definitely could have been better.
And I think the special effects, like I said, the practical effects were good, but if I were estimating their contribution to the movie, I would say maybe 30%. 70% were CGI, and I thought, like, did not age well. Very dated, very, very clunky, just kind of poor in general. So overall, this movie was a bit of a mixed bag for me. I think there were aspects of it that I really liked. There were aspects of it that I really just, I kind of struggled with a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's, like, I should say, struggled with. Like I said, this is like my third time watching it. I think I enjoyed this movie the first time I watched it, which was probably in like fucking 2005 when this movie was like 7 years old, right? Like,
right.
Watching it in 2022 when this movie is, fucking 24 years old. Like,
right. I think I didn't like the claustrophobia so much. I felt like it made it difficult to understand what the message was. I mean, I want to give it the benefit of the doubt that this was intentional, like that you were meant to feel confused. No, I mean, I think I'll just say definitively that it was intentional. I mean, a lot of the camera angles were disjointed, but
because it was supposed to be showing a city that
was changing and
was literally like, it was changing, but it was also like, it was wrapped in on itself, right? Like, no matter what direction you headed, you'd end up back in a place you've been before.
Yeah, the city was a labyrinth, and you were viewing that labyrinth through the eyes of a madman. So, like, nothing really made sense.
So, I want to talk about the soundtrack.
Okay.
And
I say okay like that because it was like, I saw it on the paper and I was like, do I need to, like, even touch on this?
So I want to talk about it. And the reason I want to talk about it is because, A, it was unremarkable for a lot of reasons. I mean, it was evocative when it needed to be, but it was also incredibly repetitive. But the reason that I want to touch on it is because of who directed the soundtrack for this movie.
Is it Philip Glass or something like that?
His name is Trevor Jones, and Trevor Jones did the soundtrack for 3 movies. Well, he did the soundtrack for a lot of movies, but 3 specific movies that have no connection to each other at all whatsoever, and that fascinates me. Number 1, Dark City. Number 2, Last of the Mohicans.
Obviously.
And number
That
3,
tracks.
Notting Hill.
Yeah, no, I got that, yeah.
Yeah, almost like he wasn't sought after for his prowess. He was just somebody they had on
Yeah.
a roll.
Wait, hang on. So does this land in something that you disliked?
Yes.
Okay. That I thought for inexplicable reason, even though we were in dislikes, I thought you were tracking back to something that you did like, and it was like I thought the soundtrack was rather forgettable, which
It was.
which is like not a knock against it, but it's not a boon either, right?
No.
Like it's like if I forget a soundtrack or I don't even take note of it, it's done its job. I will not acknowledge it.
Yeah.
But I see your point.
So
I see your point.
the man did Notting Hill, a romantic comedy
Starring
with
Julia Roberts.
With Julia Roberts. The man did Last of the Mohicans, and he did Dark City. 3 movies that have absolutely no connection to each other at all whatsoever, other than the fact that they were all involving this man.
Last of the Mohicans is pretty fucking baller.
He's no John Williams.
But who is, right?
Yeah.
John Williams.
John Williams is. That's true. He's got me there.
So,
John Williams is John Williams.
given the woman that I'm married to, my wife has a superpower. Every time we watch a movie, she can tell me who directed the score or the soundtrack without looking it up.
That's creepy.
It's borderline superpower.
That is a superpower.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
I don't know how you would apply that to, say, like, defeat the Joker, but
right.
it's a superpower,
But
no doubt.
within 10 minutes, every time we watch a movie, she goes, "Oh, I know who this is," and she'll tell me, and I'll look it up, and she's right, like 100% of the time.
Welcome to my life.
Yeah. So
Hang on.
No.
We've been welcomed to Mark.
No, I'm
Mark's
just saying,
life.
like, people will always throw out details that I can't understand how.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Follow
I
it.
thought Mark
Every day is that for me.
I thought Mark had yet another individual who was casually nailing who created the soundtrack or score for a particular
well, it
film.
is his sister. So
Fair enough.
It is
It. Yeah.
my sister.
yeah.
Let's not put too fine a point on
Well.
it. Should we cut that?
She's not gonna listen to
Jackson
this.
gonna get in trouble.
She doesn't listen to the
She's gonna
podcast.
get in trouble. Okay, that's fine.
Hi, Alyssa.
That's fine. So I think are we
Ready to quote?
good out of what we liked and what we didn't like?
I am. Yeah.
Quotes?
Yeah, I'll jump in.
Mark's gonna jump in.
Jump right in there.
Oh, he's jumping.
Yeah.
Oh, God, he fucking jumped in Australia. It's
going
not
on.
good. It's not good. Jackson,
Ah!
panic. Mark,
He jumped into Cosby.
I don't know what he jumped into, but it wasn't good.
Man, I forget who, and I'm sure, you guys will be able to tell me. But one quote that really jumped out at me, one of the characters says, I feel like I'm living out someone else's nightmare. And it's said early on in the movie, and it's almost like a throwaway line, or, it's meant to, like, just kind of underscore how weird and messed up what that character's going through in the moment. But upon reflection, maybe you are living out someone else's nightmare. They're swapping memories, they're mixing and matching, and, like, there's no sense of, like, true identity. So you really are living out someone else's nightmare.
That
is a good line.
quote
That is
was
a good
from Eddie Walensky, the madman, the detective that went insane for breaking the Matrix.
Yeah.
Don't break the Matrix.
No.
Nope. Yeah, I think I'll just leave it there.
Fair enough.
What else? we got?
I also have a single quote. So I would like to mention that this movie is not the most quotable movie in cinematic history. As a person who loves quotes and a person who could carry on and has carried on many conversations exclusively through movie quotes, this is not the sort of like deep pool I'm looking for to sort of draw my cinematic interactions with. Mine was also from Eddie Walensky, and he says, "There's no way out. I've been over every inch of this city." And I thought that was sort of poignant for his character and illustration of the city as a trap, as a labyrinth, as a maze, as a dungeon, prior to the revelation that it's quite literally a fucking floating dungeon in space.
Yeah.
Yeah. Floating Space Dungeon. There's a fucking band name.
Ooh,
Floating Space Dungeon. Wait, Floating Space Dungeon or just Space Dungeon?
Space Dungeon.
Just
I mean,
Space Dungeon.
I would, yeah, Space Dungeon.
Just Space Dungeon. Space Dungeon.
You got a quote over there?
So I have 3 quotes, and I will say, again, not the most quotable movie, so I really had to fight for these. So they're not the best.
You really do. You kind of have to look for them.
The first quote I have is from early on in the movie, like really the first scene where we meet our protagonist. He stumbles out of his bathroom where he's waking up in the bathtub, discovers that there's a dead hooker in his hotel room, gets dressed and, makes haste. He's leaving, and the bellhop, or the concierge, wakes up and, calls attention to him, and he's like, hey, you left your wallet at the automat, blah, blah, blah. He's like, hey, you owe me 3 weeks of back pay. And they go to this conversation where he's like, hey, how has it been 3 weeks? And he says, look, we make our books like we make our beds. All neat and tidy like, all right?
I might use that in my sort of everyday life.
Yeah. My second quote is from Inspector Bromstead, played by William Hurt. Upon walking into Walensky's office and taking over the investigation and seeing all of the drawings and posters and pictures and notes just plastered over every inch of the wall of the office, and he goes, I'm being punished for my sins, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my last quote is the very last line that is said to the strangers from Murdoch. At the very end of the movie, they've been inserting and implanting memories through the forehead of these people by injecting a syringe in right above the nose. And he points to that spot and says, you wanted to know what it was to be human? Well, you're not going to find it here. You went looking in the wrong place.
For those of you listening at home, Jackson, when he said here, pointed to his head.
Yeah.
And the suggestion was that you should have been looking at the heart, which scientists also refer to as the love muscle, which is where emotions are stored. Also cholesterol, that's stored there as well.
Yes.
And plaque.
Yeah. Watch your eggs.
Yes.
I thought love originated in the
eggs.
kneecap.
Ah, same.
Will I die of a coronary? Sure. But will deviled eggs be on my breath? Yes.
Would you like to eat 6 boiled eggs? No, thank you. Well, what if I cut them in half, fill them with mustard,
and mayonnaise,
and mayonnaise,
covered in papaprika,
and cover it in paprika? Oh, well,
bet your ass I would.
Yeah.
Bet your ass I would.
We've all been there. Can we rate this?
Are we Lurdern?
I'm Lurdern.
Mark, you're Lurdern.
Yep, Lurdern.
Whoa, Mark went fucking...
That's how she pronounces it.
He went full Rodic on us.
Yeah, that's how she pronounces it. Lurdern. I'm going to jump right in here.
Oh, fuck, he's coming at us.
I'm going to tear it right off.
Oh, he's coming at us.
Okay.
Oh, God.
And I'm going to give this bad boy...
Cover your ass.
A 7.3.
Whoa!
Chattering teeth.
Oh, my God. Oh,
nice.
chattering teeth. Okay.
And that's mainly due to the creativity.
Okay, fair.
In that I have not seen another movie like this.
Fair enough.
So that alone, merits a little bump up.
Good call. Jorkson?
I will give this movie a 6.1 trench-coated Cenobites.
Ooh, that's a fancy Hellraiser.
Yeah. Also for the fact that I've never seen a movie of this ilk, and probably never will again for many reasons. What you got there, Colin?
What do you think I'm fucking trying to figure out?
Your metric.
My metric, that's exactly right.
I know your number.
No, like, I've got my number fucking down. I'm looking for my fucking metric.
Yep.
That's exactly right.
It's a hard one to pin down.
It is.
One might call it a pinhead.
Ooh.
Shizma.
You know what? I think I'm gonna go actually pretty chill on this one.
Yeah?
Alright. I'm gonna give this movie a 5.7.
Alright.
Shell Beaches.
Oh. Alright.
Yeah. I'm not mincing words.
I'd go to Shell Beach if it existed.
I would go to Shell Beach.
Shell Beach.
I bet you could get a shell there.
Probably.
I mean, if I were a betting man.
Like a conch shell?
Yeah. Maybe two. All right. Well, that is all for the All Crep review. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for listening. If you have any ideas for movie reviews, please email us at 3. That is the number 3. mendanabasement@gmail.com. Please be sure to check out Space Dungeon, which is opening for Dr. Pig. They are, I think, on first stage. Second stage is Lone Boob.
Yes.
They're lonely.
They're by themselves, though. They don't have anybody opening for them.
Oh god, they have no opener. No, it's all them. All by themselves.
Yeah.
Could call it a ma'am. Marie.
We went 2 different directions on that, and I appreciate that.
And they were both boobs.
They were both boob related. Alright, so you can find us on iTunes, Google Play, or wherever you find your podcasts. And until then, I am Colin McLeod.
America!
Action Jackson.
And we will see you in cyberspace. Pretty good. Pretty good.